Hello, my name is Michelle, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. Joining us today is Nancy Ganzekaufer. Nancy is a focused, motivated, and dedicated business coach who empowers creative entrepreneurs to build the life and business they've always wanted. Nancy offers individualized and group coaching to guide and motivate her clients to get clear on their business identity, offerings, and services. Then she helps them set a plan to attract and close more of their ideal clients with effective marketing and sales techniques. She is also a national board member of the Interior Design Society and the current and founding president of the IDS Virtual Chapter. Nancy and I met online back in the summer, and we offered a webinar together called 8 Ways to Make Your Business More Profitable. We had such a great time as we worked together and shared ideas that I knew we had to continue our conversation on the podcast. Because we can talk for hours about what we do and who we serve, we really tried to narrow it down for today. So our focus is going to be on the identity part of business, really asking the question, who are you? And then talking through why that matters when creating a profitable business. I do hope this podcast encourages you to really think about who you are and how you were created, because it impacts the business that you create. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Hey, Nancy, welcome to the Profit is a Choice podcast. I'm glad you're with us today.
Hi, Michelle. I'm very happy to be here for your new venture.
Yay! I know, it's kind of exciting. It's one of those things I think about when they say, oh gosh, like a singer that it's their one-hit wonder, or they just came out. And number one, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder, so I want more than 1 or 2 podcasts. But it's one of those things that it's years in the making, right? It's not something you just wake up with one day and think, oh, I think I'd like to add 40 more hours to my work week.
I know. And people think that sometimes people think that podcasts are simple to roll out, but they actually are a tremendous amount of work. So I am very impressed that you have taken this on, and I know you're going to be a huge success with it.
Thanks a lot. So I want to start and let you tell all the listeners a little bit about the business you have today, and then we're going to segue and go back in time, and I want to hear about where you started. So tell us what you do today, and then we'll go back in just a minute.
Okay, well, I'm a really direct and dynamic business coach to interior designers and other creative entrepreneurs. I actually do coach people in the industry partners as well, podcasters and web designers and branding specialists. My goal is to make everyone make more money, become more profitable, and get really confident in the sales process. And in the end, I kind of teach sales without being salesy.
Okay. I love that. I'm not a salesy kind of gal. You and I talked about that earlier. I'm very much about relationship building, and then the sale comes out of a natural relationship.
Exactly.
But Nancy, where did you start your business ownership career? Tell us where that started.
Well, I'm going to go back one step before that really quick. I was a first vice president in a bank for about 10 years in the mortgage servicing area. And in that journey up, I worked in the collections department in my, college years. So you learn a lot by being a collector. When I left the bank, it was after the birth of my second child. I left and I became a personal fitness instructor. I went back to Hofstra University to get certified because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to get rid of that baby weight, and I wanted to have a business in the house that I could do along with my kids being there. So I became a personal fitness trainer, had a gym in my basement. It was immediately popular, profitable, and fun because we did it with our kids around. So, a 1-hour workout ended up being more like an hour and a half, but it was a great way to continue to bring an income into the family and be home with my kids. Then my third child was born, and he ended up having to have open heart surgery at 5 days old. And he was quarantined for 2 years. So, 2 young children, 4 and 6, and a baby that was quarantined. So I actually did take off and not work anywhere for about 2 years. The minute, Mother of the Year here, and I only joke about that because I am a really great mom, but the minute he went into preschool, I was like, okay, what am I doing next? Literally that week, my mother, who is an artist living in Vegas with my father, was ready to give all her artwork away. She had sold a couple of pieces, but she was very prolific, and she's like, I got to give this away. I'm like, what are you going to do that for? Send it to me. So she sent me all her artwork, and I started thinking, okay, I'm a businesswoman through and through. What's my next business? So I started having home art parties. Some people who have heard me on other podcasts know this story. Started selling her artwork at home art parties, wine, cheese, sticky tacking, watercolors. Other artists started to come to me, and one day an interior designer walked into the business, bought a piece of artwork, then said that other piece would be perfect for my client's home. I want to design a whole bathroom around it. Can you bring it to the house? I was like, sure. When I'm at the house, they're like, can you help me frame it? I'm like, absolutely. Next thing you know, expressive living, art and framing was born. I learned everything I needed to know about framing. I knew nothing about art, but I started looking around and seeing what I liked. And I realized that interior designers were my ideal client. Rather than going directly to the homeowner, the interior designers already had clients, for the most part, that appreciated the shop at home for art and framing service that I had developed. So I went, Googling, where does your ideal client hang out? So I started trying to figure out, how can I connect with them? I did phone calls. I did emails. At the time, I don't think Facebook was even a thing. And then I decided to go to the Interior Design Society, IDS, Long Island chapter, which was very small at the time. Got involved, quickly got identified, can you be our vice president? And I'm like, okay, I guess so. Because I'm a natural leader. I became vice president, then president, and then tripled the size of the chapter. They are still chapter of the year every year, and that was about 7 years ago. But over the years of working with interior designers, they consistently came to me for business advice. They were having difficulty with clients. Their contracts were not managing their client expectations properly. The way they would speak to the clients, I would witness it. I'd see the client's reaction. I was very observant. Body language, sales, expectations. When something does go wrong, which is inevitable, how do you handle it? And even the most, what people think from the outside are the most profitable designers, were coming to me and saying, I'm just not making any money. So I was doing this coaching very early on. So I continued to run Expressive Living and just supporting my clients, which were interior designers. I then also became a national board member of the IDS, and now I run the virtual chapter of the Interior Design Society. So over 15 years, I was constantly exposed to interior designers and created a lot of friendships. Somewhere around 50, youngest child's a junior in high school, and I'm thinking, I need to recreate myself. This coaching that I do for everyone is really what I love. I feel so rewarded when they start making more money. I feel so rewarded when they're profitable, when their client situations are calmed down. And I helped so many people through that I decided to hang my shingle as a coach. And that's what takes me to where I am today. I started about 3 years ago and closed down Expressive Living only a year ago. That was the art framing and accessory business. And I just love what I do. Every day I get up and I get to help people make money, and that's drives me.
So all the way back when you started the art business out of your home, we'll start with that one. Did you go into that immediately thinking and planning for profitability from the first house party?
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? I was working 120 hours over 2 weeks, hanging artwork, selling it for $10 a piece. I'd come home, I made $30, and I sent my mother $30, right, for her artwork that sold. It was really a time in my life going, what am I doing wrong? I definitely was more testing the market. to see what I was onto and where I could take this. Because even the naysayers in my life, who are the ones, and we all have them at times in our lives, that, why do you work so hard? You're not making any money. Is this just a hobby as a stay-at-home mom and you get to go out and have wine and cheese? I'm like, I love going out and having wine and cheese, but no, this is not a hobby. This is something I'm trying to figure out where the profitability is, where the need is, what problem am I solving? And it took me about 2 years to figure that out, since this was a complete business started on a whim, just to sell my mother's artwork and have something to do. And then I was able to keep my eyes and ears open for 2 years until I found the niche that really I was able to dig my teeth into. And then I set myself up for profitability.
Okay. I was wondering, it is rare. It's rare that anybody comes out of the gate and is profitable in the first month. It is even more rare that when we start a business, like you said, on a whim. I mean, my first business my interiors business started in 2000 because my neighbors rang the doorbell and they had a bolt of fabric and they said, Michelle, if you will make window treatments for our home like you've made for your home, we'll pay you.
Nice.
That was how it started. And I was like, sure, but I didn't know how to price it. I didn't know that industry. I knew how to make a window treatment because I'd been making them for my own home, but I didn't know the mechanics behind the business in that industry. So it took me a couple of years as well to figure all that out. What was it that shifted it for you to say, okay, I've hit onto something. I've got an ideal client. I understand their problem. I have a solution. What was it? Was it just the culmination of all of those answers, or was it something that happened? Oh my gosh, I'm not doing 160 hours for $30 anymore. I'm sure it was probably a pain point on that side. But what was it that, if you can remember, shifted it for you and made you go, okay, here's the formula that I need for this particular venture to make money?
There was a moment when I realized that I had to sell myself on the service as an art consultant, as opposed to I'm an art dealer, right? There's a difference in that, or a place that somebody can go buy art. And this is something that I really try to teach interior designers too. You are not a retail store selling furniture and accessories and rugs and paint, right? You are a service. And that's what I realized, that I started to shift my business to the service of art consulting. Shop for art in your home. Select framing in your home. Select accessories in your home, placed and staged. And whatever, when it came to the accessories, whatever you like, you keep. Whatever you don't, we take back. Framing, so different selecting framing in someone's home. And the people who were our ideal clients were the interior designers who had those high-end clients, who were busy and appreciated the service. They were not going to go to the frame shop, get something framed, bring it back, and put it up on their wall just to find out the lighting in that room changed the tone of that wood that they selected. And when you say things like that, you have artwork under your bed. Do you have artwork you've never returned? Do you have artwork in your basement? Because when you got it home, it wasn't the right size, it wasn't the right tone, the framing was wrong. So the shift in my mindset was realizing that I'm a service. I don't just sell art.
I love that too, because Nancy, as a fellow coach for interior designers, it's the conversation that we're not trying to sell a commodity here. We're boutique sellers. We are service sellers. We are value sellers. We are worth sellers. And that's what changes the conversation, not let me see if I can get this for the same price that you can get it for on Amazon.
Exactly.
Or fill in the name for any other, online retailer that is trying to negotiate on price alone. That's not what we're doing in this industry by and large. I'm not saying there aren't some business models set up that way, but that's almost a completely different business model than the one that we're talking about. And I think I had to come to that exact same realization in mind. It wasn't the fact that I was making a window treatment for somebody, or it was the fact that I came into your home and I measured your windows. I chose fabric, like you said, that worked with your paint colors in your area. And then I actually designed a window treatment that fit your window perfectly. Not one that you bought at an online retailer or at some box store and brought home and was 6 inches too high, like high water pants that you wouldn't even wear out.
Right.
Right? Or you're trying to put a 12-inch bed skirt on a bed that's got a 24-inch drop, because nobody makes them like that. Just craziness. And so I would always explain to my clients that when you work with somebody like me or like our interior designers, when they're offering that service, it's like bringing somebody into your home to custom make a suit for you or to custom make a shirt. Not to say, here's the size 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 off the rack. Put it on. Let's hope it fits you. Oh my gosh, it's big on the shoulders. It doesn't fit here. It doesn't. No. This is tailoring it to your body, to your needs. And that's a hard job. That is a very difficult job. And so if they're going to tailor something, I'm tailoring this window treatment, this bedding. Our designers are tailoring their ideas to the lifestyle in the home, the aesthetics, the function, the form, all those things that homeowner needs. The same thing that you were doing with that art. You weren't just selling a piece of art. You were coming in and serving them, by bringing it to them, by making it easy, by helping them see what it looked like in their location, and then valuing that. And that probably led you to change up the pricing model. It probably led you to change up your process a little bit to capture the value that you were actually bringing. Did you find that that's what happened?
Definitely. And, I always tell my design clients, you got to look at your career as an interior designer, almost like a line of people, right? Waiting to get up to the counter. You start out at the back of the line. You may not have a ton of education, but you certainly have some, and that's valuable. And as you start getting up the line, more experience, more education, you're doing your CEU trainings, you're going to vendors and learning about the quality of their product. That all makes you more and more valuable. You're extending your team of industry partners and vendors who support your interior design clients. So when it came to starting to charge and shift my mindset as a service, I literally did not care if someone could find a piece of artwork that I showed them for a lesser price. I also tried to go to suppliers that would not be selling to retail outlets. I mean, that's part of the business model as well. But should it have happened, that client would have never known that piece of artwork existed had I not had those years of experience, those hours I spend at those vendors, all the markets that I go to, and all the shows, and all the artists that I meet with, and all the learning I do at the time on how to frame something beautifully, all the different options that can be framed, right? So I truly shifted my mindset to, I don't really care if they can find it for less. I am at their house, here for hours, helping them select. I am selecting then the framing. I'm getting it priced. I'm bringing it into the framer. I'm bringing it back. I'm supervising the installation on the wall. And I'm just talking about the art side. The accessory side is, basically the same. And if they're going to nitpick on price, I am prepared to explain to them kindly, but that my years of experience, knowledge, and education brings me to this point where you're paying for a service. I'm not an art gallery where you're picking it up off the wall and bringing it home and possibly having to bring it back because it wasn't good. That's not what you wanted to do, to fill your walls. And again, I say it with a little bit of an edge when I say it here, but I did not say it with an edge when I was there. And if it ever came up, which wasn't that often, because I truly believe if you present with confidence,
it's positioning.
It's totally positioning. And that's I'm huge on that. You've heard me on other podcasts, right? Confidence is a brand that sells. If you present confidently, which is only possible when you truly believe it, you tend to get questioned a lot less.
Right. I usually tell my clients, if you don't have confidence, it's like blood in the water to a shark, and they are swimming.
Good
they're
analogy.
going to bite. They're going to bite. So just don't do it. If you're not confident going in, stay back, reschedule, get your confidence before you go in. But, it really makes me think about, and I use this analogy a lot too. When we go into my husband and I went out to dinner last night. I ordered a pasta dish with no pasta because I don't eat pasta. It always freaks them out. I'm like, can I have a pasta dish and please hold the pasta? And I always get this head thing that goes, huh? But I pretty much don't eat carbs. So I just was like, I don't want pasta. I said, instead, if you'll take your fresh vegetables of the day, throw them at the bottom of the bowl, and then throw all the chicken and the shrimp and the sauce on top of that. That's how I'd like to have it. Nice. Okay, so they bring it out to me, and it happens every time. They're like, oh, everybody in the back wants that. The chef says this looks good. I'm going to do this later. And I'm sure at some point they're going to have the pasta without the pasta for Michelle. But my point in all that is, I didn't go in there to buy the vegetables. I didn't go in there to price the chicken. I didn't go in there to price the shrimp. I went in there to order a completed dish, purchased, cleaned, prepared, served, ambiance, music, whatever, a wait staff. I am buying the service, the brand, the feeling. I'm buying all of that. Right. Because if I were to look at the individual components of what was in my non-pasta pasta bowl, it probably would not have added up, right?
Yes.
To the price of each individual item.
Correct.
And that's exactly what we have to get to as designers and workrooms and creatives. They're not buying pieces and parts from us. They are buying a completed project. They are buying a process. They're buying a feeling. They're buying an experience, right? They're buying the fact that somebody else is coming to their house and helping them do this. That's what they're purchasing. And so if they're ever, you and I did a webinar a while back, and I knew I wanted to mention, it sounds like a good time. It's called 8 Ways to Make Your Business More Profitable. And I'll put it in the show notes.
Good.
But remember, one of the points that we made in there was whatever you lead with is what you're telling them is most important. So If we come in leading the conversation with price, they think that we're price driven. We need to lead it with value and worth, which is exactly what you're saying and what I push as well. Because if I can get you to buy into the value and worth of the service, paying for it becomes secondary or tertiary. It's not the primary driver. I don't want price to ever be a primary driver when somebody works with me.
No, and you're right. I mean, I love your analogies, and I use similar yet different ones. I mean, I always say, did you ever go to buy a car and you thought, I am only spending whatever it is, $10,000. I'm buying a used car. I just need something to get me back and forth. And now you're in the lot and you see this great car and it's hot and you're going to look really sexy in it. And suddenly your brain is trying to figure out, well, I didn't think I was going to come here to lease, but I can actually afford it if I lease, or I do have that savings that I was going to put aside for something else, or now it's my birthday or my anniversary coming up, so I can add more to it. Your brain starts to find reasons why you want what you've painted a picture of in your head that you're going to totally love and enjoy, and it's going to add value to your life. That's what a designer's job is, to paint the picture of what that client is going to get out of the process each step of the way.
Right, not the individual parts.
Correct.
It's the completed idea and the feeling and the emotion and the outcome. Because again, if I can get you bought into that picture, here, you and I both know this. If somebody tells us I don't have the budget for that, but if they want it badly enough, they will find the budget.
Correct. It's a valuation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's our job, like you said, to express what that value is and take them on the journey to see it and feel it and touch it and experience it before it has materialized.
Yes. Yes. You have to help them visualize the outcome. But I do say you need to, depending on your business model, and as we know, interior designers have all different business models, but I want them to only paint the picture of the next step in their pricing model. Meaning they get on that 10-minute call just to see, are you the right designer for me? And they start asking all kinds of questions. Well, what's your hourly rate? What's your markup? What's your this? And designers feel obligated to answer those questions. And I'm like, no, you don't need to answer those questions at that point. All you need to do is say, I have different pricing models, or I have different models for different needs, different service options for different needs, however you want to say it. It all starts with my initial consultation. So let me talk to you about what you're actually going to get and can expect out of my initial consultation to try to keep the client's
breadcrumbs. You're dropping breadcrumbs to get where they go. It's so true. I mean, even people will call me and go, what does it cost to work with you? And I'm like, we're not going to have that conversation. Exactly. Let's start with the conversation of what do you need and can I solve your problem? Because if I can't solve your problem, right, it doesn't matter what I charge. That doesn't even matter. Let's start with what it is you need. And then let's see what, it may be that there's a lower level offering, not the highest level. And if I throw out like my concierge coaching package to you, it might freak you out when all you needed was, $100 downloadable document. So let's don't start there. Let's start with what you need. Exactly. And then let's solve the problem. You know what's so interesting, Nancy? I know this is something that you, I'll say rally behind, carry the flag for, and that is that business owners know who they are. And here's what you and I both know. They can't have that conversation that we just had and talked through and that we speak as if it's no big deal. They can't have that conversation if they don't know who they are. They cannot have confidence if they don't know who they are. That's where we have to start, right? I start in the same place because you can't come to me and say, fix my financials and fix my marketing. I got to fix you because you're the one in front of me. And you're the one who runs the company. And so we always have to start with, who are you? And so I know that's important. Tell us a little bit about how you can help somebody or how you go through helping them either understand why it has to start with them, because they always think it starts with everybody else. I mean, it's human nature. Yes. Oh, it's the client. Oh, it's the pricing model. Well, it's really you because you are the driver of all those things. Luann Nagara and I just did our podcast a couple weeks ago, and her comment was, it's got to be you. You've got to have confidence, and you've got to come in here knowing what you know. And that's the same thing that we all push. Tell me how you help somebody gain clarity and even see they need to do that.
What I try to do with all my clients, well, I shouldn't say try to. What I do with all my clients is deal with what's going on currently in their business simultaneously as starting from scratch with their value, them understanding their value, their vision for the future. Because what happens is often they come to me already in a tornado of client issues, overwhelm, or no clients at all. I can't figure out what to do. My pipeline is low. So they already have a little bit of upset going on and distraction to starting from scratch. So
you focus on the current pain point in addition to understanding the broader, the longer term pain point. And so you're kind of working on them together.
I'm bringing the front and the back together into the middle. Because
same thing.
I find if I just say, okay, well, we're going to start with just your business plan, and I'm not addressing the upset that they have going on right now, and they need clarity on how to answer a client back after a difficult interaction. And yes, we know that interaction often happens because there's something broken in their process or something broken in their system and the way that client had expectations. But if I don't help them simultaneously deal with what's going on in their business currently, and then also get in lessons that start to slowly bring them forward until the two ends meet, and they now have new clients in their pipeline that they started correctly with, managing their expectations from the beginning, pricing it profitably, and understanding the flow of the rest of their system, I'll never succeed with them. So I found that I had to do both simultaneously. So whether they are one-on-one client with me or in one of my groups, that's how I approach all my coaching.
Yeah, because if we don't plug the hole in the dam, we don't have a chance to rebuild the dam. You can't just let it break and then
exactly.
Right. You got to do both. I won't say all the time because that wouldn't be fair, but I would say a good portion of the time when a new client comes to me and I start talking to them about who they are, it's weird. They will start to tell me about their packages. They will start to tell me about their process.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start to tell me about their offerings or their services, solutions, whatever, but they won't tell me who they are. And I always have to push. But who are you? What do you like to do? What do you want to do? There are awesome opportunities in our industry to buy pre-printed systems and pre-printed contracts and pre-printed everything. And that's not a bad idea. And I am not saying that at all. But to pick it up and force it into your business when it's not a natural fit for you is a disservice to your business.
Definitely.
Right? And so they're wondering why they're not making money with somebody else's ideas and plans. And it's because those ideas and plans were never their own. And they haven't truly embraced them because they don't know who they are. And it probably worked for somebody else, but it doesn't work for them. How do you help somebody really, let's say we've stopped the initial turmoil. Okay. You got that under control. And
Yep.
Now you're in a rebuild, reframe type mode with them. How do you help them really discover who they are and why that matters to their whole business at large?
Well, because niche is rich and broad is broke, the first question when I get to that stage, hopefully it's sooner than later, I say to them, what's your favorite part of the job? When you get a job that is just a kitchen, are you like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I love doing kitchens. If you love window treatments, or you love lighting, or you love doing just the decorating and design furnishings part, but you can't stand full gut renovations, or do you get really excited when you get called in right from the beginning and the house isn't even built yet?
Right.
So I start asking them, like, what parts of the process really excite you of the design process, right? Because we know most of them hate the business side. And the fact that 70 to 80% of your job is the business side, and the, 20 to 30, if you're lucky, is the design side, is, a sidebar that we try not to discourage in the beginning. But what part of the creative side really floats your boat? And I often go back, believe it or not, to high school and college and say, what do you love to do in high school and college that maybe gave you, if you went to college, right, to give you a clue as to your future. And you start realizing what they were attracted to. And this brings up a lot of thoughts in their mind. And by the time I have their next session and I've had them do some journaling, they're like, you know what? I was thinking about what you were saying. And what I really love to do is, right? It could be, I love color. I just love doing the color consults. Like, that's what I want to do. Or I just want to help them pick out fabrics. I have designers that can't stand the full service design, the whole ordering the furniture and tracking it and getting it delivered and going to receiver and then handling damages.
It can be a pain.
Oh my God. It is very difficult stage of the design business unless everything goes super smooth, which rarely happens. So they're like, what can I do other than that and still make money, right? So we start to brainstorm on what's going to make them happy and how do we make it profitable? Then who would be their target market? Is that a service that is desirable, wanted out there in the market? And I always say, I'm not cookie cutter coaching. And listen, there's a ton of value out there in the interior design coaching world, and I love almost all of them, if not all of them. I see the value in every single coach that's out there. But like you probably, I do have clients coming to me that have been with other coaches who they've bought a full package from. And they're still, like you said, it's just not working for me and I don't know why. And it's because you do have to tweak any system you purchase, any contract, any program you purchase. You still have to make it your own, where I want to change the way I word it, where it works with your brain.
Right. That's absolutely right. And coming from a software background, there are multiple software programs that solve a problem.
Yes.
And everybody interacts with technology differently, the same way we interact with all these other pieces and parts of our business. And we've got to find what works for us. I ask the same questions. What makes your heart flutter? What is it that when the opportunity comes through the door, you literally almost get this like excitement, this little butterfly? And which ones come in the door that you feel your stomach drop?
Yes.
Because we have a physiological response many times. Which ones call and you think, I almost wish they hadn't called? Not because of the person, but because of the job. And then let that be an indicator. Start to listen to ourselves. And I think, too, a lot of younger designers, they're coming in and modeling their business after other businesses that they see, that they perceive as profitable. And you and I both know from working with enough people, every business that looks and is visible and is out there and has beauty, that does not equal profitability. Two different things.
I just said this in my group this morning. So I do run group Sales and Leadership Academy for interior designers. So group 5 started today. And that's exactly what I told them. I said, don't look at other designers with, oh my God, they are so successful. I want to be just like them. I need to do everything they're doing, because you may not know what their numbers are. And I've known plenty of designers who really are such hard workers and they try really hard, but their net profit is not what they need it to be to run a profitable business. I say, look at what they're doing on the outside as inspiration, but set it up in a way whether they're profitable or not is not your concern. Use other designers as inspiration, not as the be-all, end-all, and then make it your own. Make your business the way you're going to jump out of bed in the morning and be like, oh, yay, I have clients today. That's what it needs to be for everyone. Because why be an entrepreneur if you can't get it to a point where you actually love most days? I mean, listen, we all have to do things we don't like to do to run a business, but most days my body wakes up at 5:30 because I'm excited. I look at my calendar and go, oh, I got a lot of clients on today, but yay, I get to help all these people today because I finally landed where I'm supposed to be. So it takes a lot of self-exploration to make your business your own and love what you do.
I'm with you. I love what I do, and it's the same way. I also think that we also don't know when we look at these other businesses that are out there on Facebook and Instagram, and if we talk 30 under 30, 40 under, whatever, it doesn't matter, fill in the blank. Right. We also don't know what they've sacrificed to get there. We don't know what their life looks like behind the scenes. And so sometimes we might not be willing to risk or to give up what they're risking and giving up to have what they have. But we don't see that piece. We don't see that part. And maybe they are wildly profitable and they're wildly out there, but they've given up every relationship or they've made other sacrifices, and so that's why it is so very important to look at those as inspiration and then take what's great and then, learn from it, build off of it and create the business of your dreams, that you want to do, not the business that you think somebody else has. I've shared this before, but Rob Lowe made a comment. I'm pretty sure it was him back when it was the same time that my oldest son was going off to college and his son was going off to college. And he said to his son, don't ever compare your insides to somebody else's outsides.
It's true.
Because it's not an equal comparison. And that's what we do. We look inside our business and see what it is, but we compare it to the highlight reel of somebody else's. And it's always going to leave us wanting. It's always going to leave us feeling less than. Or not enough. And so we just can't do it that way. So knowing who we are, like you said, what we want to build and how we want to get there is actually empowering.
It's very empowering. And the other thing is different stages of life. It comes into play, right? So when I say to someone, what did you like to do in high school and college, just to start getting reconnected with their joy that they might have felt at different times in their life and what part of their business they enjoy the most, you then have to apply what stage of life are you in? You want to run $1 million business and you just had a baby. It might be hard for you if you want to balance your life, and that's okay. There were times, like I said in my opening story, right? My kids were sick at times. Like everyone, you have things that happen in your life. There are times that I moved faster. And there are times that I moved slower. And that was okay. What I always made sure I did, though, was move forward.
Yeah, there is a season for everything. I had my corporate season. I had a time that I came home and raised my children and had a small business. I had a time that it became a bigger business, bought, sold, went in with partners. It's evolved as literally my business has evolved as my children have grown. That's kind of what you've seen. And I'm like you, both my kids are older. They're 21 and 24. They're out and about college and the other's living his life. And I don't have the same restrictions or the same need to be home. Granted, I've got 3 little dogs and a husband who like it when I'm here. But, I'm not running carpool. I'm not going to a Friday night football game to see them perform. I'm not doing those things anymore. So those needs are gone, and it frees me up. And
Right.
I'm giving ourselves the freedom to know who we are, to build the business that we want to build for the season that we're in is a beautiful thing. Let's talk a minute about the cost to the business. And I'm not talking just money, right? But the cost of creating a business that doesn't suit who you are. Like the idea, Nancy, that every single time I see ABC designer doing this, I've got to do it. Like right now, if somebody sees somebody do e-design, I need to do e-design. Well, I had a client today say to me, I hate e-design. I hate it. I don't want to do it. I'm like, then don't do it. If you hate it, your client is going to recognize that you hate it. Don't do it. Do it because you love it, not because you think that's what you're supposed to do right now. So let's talk for a minute about the cost of building a business without knowing who you are. What do you see in your practice of the cost, or the, what are people giving up? I mean, they're giving up joy for sure.
You know what? They always end up in a similar place, close or in burnout. And I'd say what comes to mind when you just asked me that question were when you're working with someone who is not your ideal client over and over and over again. It's like
when I hit my head against a wall.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel so, sad for those designers when they come to me, my clients, and I can recognize it. But because they're in such a money scarcity mindset and that their ideal client's never going to come to them, how are they going to find it? Before we start working together, they're so afraid to say no to clients that are going to drain them emotionally because they feel like, well, I have to take it. So again, dealing with, okay, you feel like you have to take it. Let's tweak a few things that helps start to control those situations, help you learn how to deal with difficult clients, which I've dealt with my entire life, and I think it's one of my superpowers. And then also simultaneously start to develop the base to start attracting your ideal client, changing your messaging, getting out there in different ways, being around different people, right? All of this comes into play. The cost of doing business with someone who is not your ideal client is draining your entire life, your relationships, your life, your thoughts. You can't function sometimes.
You know what? It feels to me when I've worked with clients like that, I've had them come and literally say, similar to yours, I don't care if I ever design another room. I don't care if I ever do it again. It's literally like a slow death being pecked by a bird. Right. It sounds like a horrible description.
Yeah, that is bad.
But what it is think about this. I mean, you and I both know it. We see it. And it breaks my heart when they come to me. And I know it does to you. I mean, I literally can just feel like my own response to them because a piece of them is chipped away over and over and over again when they work with that ideal client. And they could have gone into that job with some level of confidence, but it will be destroyed by the time they're out. And not just confidence about that job, but it now creates this shaky platform that their whole business is built on. Yeah. And I've worked with people that we've had to almost take a year to rebuild their confidence. And they had super high dollars, super high numbers, super high clients. And they had one bad project with one bad client that destroyed them, almost like PTSD. Yes. And that is, look, when we start giving away a piece of ourselves for $1, it's not worth it. It is just not worth it.
No, it's not.
I'm so glad that you brought that up and that I hate that you're saying the same thing. Yeah. And I think there's a way around it. I know there's a way around it. We both know there's a way around it. But we often get what we attract.
Oh, absolutely. I think the saddest for me is when you think you've attracted your ideal client. You've had the consult. You're already working with them. And somewhere midstream, the client does what you see as a drastic shift in their identity. And they start really questioning every single thing you are doing.
Yes.
In the end, I can still, and you can too, find the point where they're
Where it went right off the rails.
Right, where their system, their communication, they're managing their expectations, something went off the rail, or something happened in the designer's life and they became not so efficient and they didn't communicate well or have the, systems in place to handle that when it happened. And that's when the shift happens. And that, to me, also really kills interior designer self-esteem. It's like, it was my perfect client. I was looking forward to taking pictures and having it for my portfolio. And they're leading with their needs as opposed to leading with the client's needs. Mm-hmm. And it ends up being disappointment and chipping away at the self-esteem.
Also, I think a piece that I've seen play into that, Nancy, is this false sense of security. Oh, they're my ideal client. Therefore, I can just kind of put it on, autopilot and go through it. And maybe they don't step back and still go through every item of their process along the way. So it's not that they weren't their ideal client, it's that they didn't continue to cultivate them as such.
Correct. Or they became too friendly with them.
Mm-hmm. And then that leads on a whole nother path.
Yep, right. And friends is great, but friends with a professional distance is all you can do, all you should do when you're working with somebody. Assuming they didn't start out as a family or friend, but that's another whole conversation.
Oh, that's a whole 3 or 4 podcasts by itself, right? And I will say this, it's the friendlier you get, the more difficult charging becomes.
Yes.
And so there really needs to be, at least within that part of the relationship, some barriers and ground rules set for how you're going to do it. And it starts with us as the professionals setting the ground rules. We cannot wait on the client or the customer to set those rules. We have to set them going in. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, correct. And it really then goes back to what we started out with, the confidence.
The confidence.
To understand your value. You know what? Even today, if a friend approaches me for actual coaching, not just friendship, conversation where, they're listening to me and I'm listening to them. But if they truly need to be shifted to the next level, I have my policy on friends and family discount. I do not go lower than that because I will give a friends and family discount. And this is what I tell the designers. Either you don't give a discount at all, or if it's really not going to allow you to put your head down on the pillow at night and sleep well, decide on a percentage that is your family and friend discount. You always stick to that. Do not let yourself be guilted or manipulated into going any lower. And it should still be at a value that's worth you working for.
Yeah. And, again, that could be another podcast, but I pretty much say if they didn't birth you and you didn't birth them, run. And do it. Pass it on to somebody else. The cost is exorbitant. And just in general, anything anybody gets for free at a low cost, they don't value the same. And they're usually the ones that take more time, effort, and energy to have it work out okay.
Oh,
so let me find the same. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So if you could give one piece of business advice to the designers and creatives and the workrooms and the accessories dealers and all those listening in, what's the one big piece of advice that you would give to them? I know that's hard because your mind's like mine. Oh, I could give you 5,000 pieces of advice, but if you could give one, what do you think it would be?
Work on your confidence, your consistency, and your calm, the 3 C's. Those 3 things combined will help you set up your business model in a way that's going to be profitable and one that you're going to start enjoying again.
Okay. I like that. So you have a Facebook group called Actionable Entrepreneurs. It's a pretty active group. Tell us a little bit about the group and what is your goal to accomplish through that group?
Well, it's actually a very quick, funny story. I originally named that group Nail Your Sales because I am a hyper-focused sales, coach, right? I want to make sure everyone understands just how to have a non-salesy conversation to make the sale. But I was finding, this is talking about finding yourself, right? I was finding that I was having trouble putting content in that group on a consistent basis because I was so much more than sales. And then I realized, what is my actual focus every day and what am I trying to get my clients to do? What am I trying to get my friends to do, right? Take action every single day towards your goals. small or large, take action every day. So I changed the name of the group to Actionable Entrepreneurs. And I bought the URL. So you can actually go to actionableentrepreneurs.com and it takes you into my Facebook group for asking to be a member. I no longer have any difficulty ever doing a Facebook Live on the fly, asking questions, sharing with people, because my goal is to get everyone to just get up and go every day and do one little step or 5 big steps every day to move yourself to the next level of profitability and having a happy, balanced life while being an entrepreneur. So that's the focus of the group, to be motivating, to give tips on all aspects of their business. Interior design is a different type of business, but on the other hand, it is still a business. So as a business coach, I can coach many different types of businesses. However, because I'm fairly well known in the interior design industry, because that's where I came from, and I know that business really well, I have even more power to be able to shift people. But business is business, and the business end is often very similar no matter what you do. You need to take action every day. You need to focus on the things you don't want to focus on. And like I said, you need to be confident, consistent, and calm in order to be able to continue to move forward.
Great. And I'll have a link to that Facebook group in our show notes so people can find you. And it's interesting. I purchased the URL as well, profitisachoice.club. And in profitisachoice.club, it takes you to my Facebook group, which is Build a Profitable Business for Interior Designers and Workrooms. And so I'll put that link in there as well. But it just makes it a lot easier to get there than to have to remember all the names. So Nancy, what's one of the next big profit goals in your business?
My next big profit goal, which I already set and I told all my children, is to be able, because you'll laugh, right? It's not a number as much as it is, I will be taking each of my children separately on a trip somewhere in the world, wherever they want to go. So I have 3 children. I told each of them they can pick wherever they want to go. I gave them a dollar amount that they could spend, and my boyfriend also. So 4 trips on my dollar from the money I have made with my hard work and my focus and my taking action every day will be to take each of them on a trip, because they all deserve it.
Well, I sure hope they don't all choose back to back to back to back, because that'll be a problem. Not from the money side, but from the organizing the business and the coaching and everything else. That's hard.
No, I figured 1 per quarter.
Okay.
Whenever I start saying go, right? So this is what I'm working towards in my business. And as a profit first coach that you are, it's something that I am planning for.
Yeah, and it does have to be planned for, which is so important. Even what we are talking about today, it's about, if you want to be profitable, we have to plan to be there. And the way we plan to be there is all the way back with who we are and building our confidence, because that's what leads ultimately to you having some money in that profit to be able to take your family, right, on trips. Silda Guglielmo in episode 1 said the same thing. She said, I don't know, I'm not going to tell my family yet, but my big profit goal, I'm like, you're just putting it on a podcast sale. But hers was to take them on a trip, to do a big family trip. And so I love that. But it makes working so different. I always have a vision board, and I have pictures of things that I am working for. Like, where's my money going to go? So the same way that we're asking our clients or our designers to help their clients connect to the end result for their client, right? That what the home's going to like, space is going to like, I connect to the end result of what my hard day at work is going to look like. And mine has shown up on a board as college tuition. Right. It's shown up as a vacation. It's shown up as retirement. It has shown up in our little Lexus convertible. And I love it when I can take it off the board, because we've done it. And so, but it keeps it visual. It keeps it in front of me and helps me understand that I'm working for people outside of just myself.
Yes, it can't just be a dollar amount in your bank account. It has to be a vision of something as a reward almost for listen, we work so hard. Our interior designers, our clients, they work so hard. What can they look forward to at the end? It could be paying off a loan. It could be, no longer renting. It could be anything, right?
A spa day. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge.
Spa day.
It could be a lunch out with friends that you pick up the tab.
Right.
It could be Chick-fil-A for everybody or ice cream. Just saying, it could vary in seasons of life to what that profit goal is or how we're going to spend that money.
Right. It could be a staycation once a quarter, just so you're not working once a quarter, but you're having time with a baby or a family member or your kids or your spouse. It can be so many things. So I really encourage everyone we know you all want to be profitable, and you absolutely should be, and you can be. Then you want to set a goal that actually gives you a little something to look forward to, so that you know why you work so hard every day.
Exactly. Nancy, what are you doing to put yourself in a position to be profitable?
I have separate bank accounts opened up.
Yay! No, you made me happy.
I'm not quite profit first, because believe it or not, I would have had to switch banks. And I did not want to switch banks right now because my initiatives are great right now. But I did set up separate bank accounts. And
I'll take that start. I'm happy with that.
And I do put a certain percentage of my gross income aside. And that was my first step. I also incent my employees to help us grow to the next level. And I have plans. I'm in the middle of creating a course right now that should be coming out in about a month.
Good.
So I think this is the first podcast I've mentioned it on, and it's going to be a huge amount of value for a very reasonable price, because my goal is to reach more people. Reaching more people in the end, whether you're an interior designer or a coach, is going to make you more profitable.
I agree. So, Nancy, is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap up our time together?
I just want to say to people, don't give up, right? It's worth continuing to pursue your dreams. Hiring a coach or having a mentor or having a buddy system, I don't care how you do it. Make sure you surround yourself with very enthusiastic, motivated people. We've all heard that before, but it's so hard to do if you're having a struggle with who you're surrounding yourself with, because they just don't get you. They don't get your business. They don't keep motivated the way you do. Make sure you start bringing some people into your life that are at that same level of goal setting as you are, because it really makes a difference.
I totally agree. I'm constantly looking for people that are a few steps ahead of me and trying to hold on to that. I don't want to be the one who's always ahead of everybody. And I'm not, because I've chosen to surround myself with people at every stage of the game. And that keeps me sharp. And it helps me look back and bring people forward, right? Like people did for me. But it also helps me look forward, and other people are reaching back and helping me. Yes. And then if we all work together with accountability, mentorship, coaches, whatever it is, however it looks for us in any given time, I think, and it just strengthens the industry.
It does.
And then we all benefit in the long run.
We need to change the way this industry values itself in the eyes of the consumer. And I think there's a ton of us out there working really hard to relay the right words and how to visualize your value and your business to a ton of designers, and it's starting to happen. I feel it's happening.
Yeah, I'm seeing a shift as well. And it does happen a designer at a time by building their confidence. You know, the whole group moves as we all learn and take on that confidence. So I appreciate your message today, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Everybody, thanks so much for joining in today. If you would, please leave an iTunes review. And remember, profit doesn't happen by accident.